So here we are. And this is the agenda. So talk a little bit about the next 6 months, revisit the roadmap and the agenda for the vision about Web 3.0, and then talk about some of the design choices that is behind the entire blockchain project. I think that also goes back to answering some of the questions that we'll come to at the end. And then Peter will give an overview of the development and talk about some of the key tech questions. Yes, let's jump into this. So for the next month, so we are launching the blockchain by the end of May. We are heading towards, at the end here, we have a large hackathon planned in Copenhagen. And if we backtrack from there, we are now signing the partnerships. We are preparing listing. We are building the first applications. We are also extending the management team. And we'll basically be doing these things in all of May and launching by the end of May. Then we start when we go to a number of conferences along the way. We are now here at the Paris Blockchain Week. We go to the Global Health. We'll go at the Crypto Valley Conference in Zug. We'll be at Consensus. We'll also be participating in what is called the SDG Summer School from Geneva. And that is going to bring us to September and the hackathon in Copenhagen. So that's sort of some of the bullet points that we're planning for the next 6 months for this project. We'll come back to that during the Q&A, I imagine. I just want to go back, revisit the roadmap. So the roadmap, you can see it on the new homepage in more details. It's sort of divided into these three things that we are solving for in the blockchain. The scalability issues, the first thing here, you can see, it's all about creating this basic blockchain scalable with sharding and addressing market for trust and all these kind of things for the basic layer one. Then we have the privacy component, which is partly to do generic privacy observing computation and partly to develop a smart contract language that makes it easy to do exactly that as a developer on the network. And the last one is the interoperability, where it's about moving data and tokens across the blockchain in a secure and more secure way. And we'll get back to some of these issues during the discussion of the design choices for the network. Just want to, before we do that, just want to go back and revisit why we are doing what we are doing. So we bring in privacy, we bring in decentralized privacy to the blockchain. And that's because we believe this is the way that you can really have value transfer. You can really have a user-centric internet. So if you give the user control of the data. And that's kind of the big differentiator. And since we can do this generically with the multi-party computation and the generic zero knowledge computation, we're in a strong position to go into this battleground that is here and will be there for the next number of years around extending the existing internet economy into a number of different industries. And this is industries where privacy is becoming even more important. So that's the whole goal of this project. So I think I want to talk a little bit about the design choices of the network. So let's just jump right into that. So the first one is the decoupling of the token economy. So this is about decoupling the idea of the store of value and the means of payment. So with the MPC token, it works as a entry to market. So when you have the MPC tokens, you get to tap into a revenue stream, or basically to tap into the entire value chain of the network. And that value chain is bringing in tokens from other blockchains. So this is the decoupling, where you have collaboration with the external networks, and you sort of align the interoperability such that you are basically boosting the coins of the partner chains that we are integrating with. Yes, so this decoupling, you also know this from other industries like the telecom communication industry, where you buy a license in order to use the bandwidth to transport information in through spectrum licenses. So it's a kind of similar approach to market entry. All right. So that's one of the basic choices. Another one is the whole thing about privacy, and this is about the generic zero knowledge computation, which is not just zero knowledge proof; it's also zero knowledge proof. So zero knowledge proof is a limited technology in terms of zero knowledge computation. It's limited in the sense that you only have a binary resource and you only have two parties involved. You'll easily run into problems where you have multiple parties, and you will need a more sophisticated result. Imagine an auction or any statistics, basically. So what you could say is that zero knowledge proof is really a small subset of zero knowledge computation or multi-party computation. Yes, another basic choice. Oh, this is a bit difficult. Okay. Another basic design choice is the ability to do any public and private coordination. So this means that we have this basic public transparent blockchain layer, and we have the zero knowledge computation layer. And when you build on top of this, you can basically pick and choose the mix of private and public coordination. So that means that you could have a 100% public application, like on any other public blockchain, or you could also have a 100% private application. We actually did this. We are developing a private coin, and we're using the Partisia blockchain in order to do audit on that private coin. So you can do 100% private applications as well. You could also do anonymous applications. We're also doing that. Or you can have any mix of public and private coordination. So that's another very basic choice of design choice behind the blockchain. Also designed for scalability and for rapid execution. I'm sure Peter can talk much more about this, but the right way to do consensus is really to do BFT, but there's no reason to do BFT unless you need it. So that's what is designed into this, that we only do BFT when needed. And then we also have the sharding, which makes sure that we can scale up the blockchain as much as needed. So this is much faster than doing a CK rollup. So if you do that, first of all, you have a private network, and we don't really want that. We want this right mix of private and public. And then it takes some time to create these CK proofs, but you still need your data to exist there. So you still have a part of the network where the data is sitting, and a part of the network where you have the zero knowledge proofs. So it might be a tool to do sort of lightweight validation nodes. And we could do that when we move forward to include more node operators into the validation. Well, we would probably more use CK proofs or CK rollups as a second layer to address very data-intensive services, and use the first layer as a way to store the proofs for these services. That's another very fundamental design choice. A bit difficult with this one, so let's do it like this. Another one is that is designed the interoperability. We bring in external coins. So it's designed for this interoperability from day one. And we spend a lot of time on doing that in a more secure and scalable way. And scalable in the sense that you don't accumulate risk when you start moving funds around. And the way we do this is basically by 3 different tools. One is that we have these epochs, and they sort of expire regularly over time. And we have a double bookkeeping system. I don't know if this is actually part of this, or it is. So here we can actually see that if I can move these, that you have a deposit and you have a withdrawal, a part of the network, and you have this double bookkeeping. So you know that there needs to be a balance between the 2 sides. And then you use the MPC part or the multi-sig MPC, threshold cryptography, basically, to assign these small oracles into these different epochs, which means that you actually bring the security about the selection of the small epoch up to the highest level of the blockchain. Then you have, finally you have the selected node that is running these epochs. They use the MPC tokens as collateral. So when they basically secure the funds that is transferred through these oracles. So this is also pointing at when does these epochs expire. So when you run out of MPC tokens, you basically replace the oracle. So this is a very one-to-one securing of the funds transferred through these bridges. And another thing is that, so we are specialized in doing privacy preserving computation, and we have the interoperability. So we collaborate with external network. So we have this basic trade-off where we can boost another network's token as a means of payment on the Partisia blockchain, and then we can export privacy preserving computation to external networks. So it looks a bit like this. So you, as sitting on this blockchain X, you're building smart contracts on X. You're doing that on Partisia blockchain as well. And then there's some interoperability built into these smart contracts. And you have the privacy preserving computation done on Partisia blockchain, and you mirror the result back to X in this case. Yes, so all of these choices sort of lead up to the benchmarking, where we have a rapid blockchain and finalization. We have a scalable network, and we have this privacy level as well as the interoperability with the bridges. So with that, I think I will give the words to Peter. Whoops. And I need to
unmute me.
Yes. Are you? Or just make you a host, maybe?
Preferably not.
Who's going to mute? Anchor. Oh dear. Slides.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll go through. So given that this is the node operator AMA, I'd like to sort of delve into some of the things that we finalized within the last couple of months that should make node operations a lot easier. So the event propagation has been improved. So this is cross-shard event propagation that could get stuck previously because some of it was based on memory storage. So that has been changed so that the event propagation now actually works in a more resilient manner. So if we lose events in memory, we actually get them transferred automatically at a later stage. Then we've done a lot of work on hardening the flooding network, making sure that people can't break the blockchain, this is some of the things that we wanted to do before that had been in our roadmap for quite some time. And we wanted to make sure that it is impossible to break the nodes, even though they are so that you cannot send an infinite large package. So now the packages that are being distributed across the flooding network and things that are happening on the flooding network is all size constrained, so you don't get your nodes crashed. We've also worked, but not completed, making the large Oracle key generation much more robust, so that the large key generation that is running now is much more resilient. Not necessarily perfect yet, so this is why some of you noted that if you actually boot your server after 30 minutes, you can discuss and argue why that would not be a good idea. But there was a few that did that. We've made sure that that's still a problem. And then we've added some more tracking of producers' mistakes. We've changed the block producer contract so that it's easier to actually see what's going on and see where your stakes are at this point. Now we've added one thing that is sort of very minor in some senses, that the block producers can now do their own peer discovery. So now when you boot and to be a part of the network as a baker, you have to be able to sign blocks. So you have to have set up your node in a manner where it is compatible with the things that you registered on the block producer orchestration contract. And that has been, the error messages and the checks of that has been improved significantly, but you no longer actually need to have Christian register your IP addresses, because this is done dynamically. This is done dynamically also to check that you have configured your node correctly, so that you on your node have configured which IP your node should be seen from the external internet. So on the internet, you should know what IP your node is accessible under, and that IP should be registered for your own node, and that can then be flooded onto the network once you start your own node. So you actually don't have to register your IP addresses. And this is the last thing for the GitLab image to actually be open source. That's the thing. We probably want to keep a few IP addresses, but after Easter, I'll have Christian round up some IP addresses so that we have some good peers that can present it the network, so you don't all have to go through our peer. This also allows for any type of zero knowledge computation. So a zero knowledge computation is in the current technology that we have, it's multi-party computation, and multi means more parties. So it's more than one party, and it means that they need to connect to each other in a channel that's peer-to-peer encrypted. So I need to be able to contact any other block producer, let's call it Pitbull for the sake of our argument, and he needs to be able to contact me. And that peer discovery system is actually what we are using in our large Oracle. So this is actually one of the enablers for doing the first and the big MPC computation that's running right now. Going forward, we've added some more features. We have added the bring own coin can be you can do out of order withdrawals, and that basically needs to be implemented in the wallet, I think, but the contracts are out there. And then we added some more statistics for you guys to actually see. The biggest thing is that we've added median finalization time, and we've made it possible for you to see. So seeing who was responsible for reset blocks has been possible for quite some time. However, that will need to be inferred from rather complicated data. So now it's much more clear who has been responsible for the reset blocks. You don't want to be a guy that's responsible for the reset blocks, because this is where we do the heavy Byzantine agreement in order to figure out who's going to be, whether or not that block producer is offline. And then we've added median finalization time. Just to be clear on what median finalization time means, is that that's the time it takes from, if I'm the block producer, current sequencer, then it's the time from I produce a block till the next block, if there was a transaction. So the point is that you want to have finalization times for transactions you want to have it, and you want to have that number as low as possible. We shouldn't get too caught up in the actual number, because the finalization time is also dependent on number of transactions. But if you as a node operator have a higher finalization time, you might want to look into why if your network connectivity is good, and if you have the right peers, or if it's just on a single shard, or if on every shard. There might be stuff to look into. So this is the first way we're trying to do some more aggregate statistics, so that you guys actually have an idea of what's going on with your own node. And then one of the yeah, this is a big slide. One of the more interesting things. So we now have created a feature complete sharding smart contract language for our public blockchain. So in order to understand that, I want to spend a minute or two on understanding what sharding for us means. So sharding is one of the most frequently used words in a lot of, especially in the blockchain community. So sharding for us is where every shard is a full member of the state control. So basically, each shard is a part of the total state. Other chains, I've seen proposals of sharding where the shards have been a second layer sharding, a smaller sub-chain where the security model is different, where you don't necessarily have the full scale security model. And that's easier. Nothing on the blockchain layer 1 is simple, but that's easier to do than the first one. So the first one is actually where each shard is meaningful in itself, where they can do everything. It also means that you don't have a full state anywhere. You have eventual consistency. You don't have concurrent consistency. So you can't at any smart contract address any other smart contract. So every smart contract execution is sandboxed. You have a context. When you're running a smart contract, you have a context for that smart contract. That context is that smart contract and only that smart contract. But the problem is you want to interact with other smart contracts. We've done this through cross-contract interactions, or what we sometimes refer to as events. So these cross-contract interactions events are working now. So we've had them work now, and we've tested a lot of things. And our smart contract language is actually feature complete for the public part. So for doing for doing regular public smart contracts on our blockchain, you have the full feature set of the entirety of the event and the cross-contract interactions, all of that. And for that, we've actually built, some of you have seen the token contract, some of you have been interested in the token contract. On that token contract, you can deploy your own token. We've also built an auction contract where you can auction off some of the tokens for another token, so you can swap tokens. This is the beginning of a very intricate DeFi market, and that's not necessarily why it's interesting. The interesting part for us is that the auction smart contract locks the bidder's tokens. So if I'm bidding for Kirk's tokens, and I'm bidding in token B, then the auction contract will call my smart contract, and then we will, and that smart contract with my token will then lock on that smart contract for the duration of my bid. So if someone comes and bid over me, then the same smart contract can now release my tokens. But this is sort of the cross-chain interaction, cross-contract and cross-shard interaction functionality that we want to test. So we plan to have everyone deploy it and interact with these smart contracts. The process has not been laid out, and I'm not going to throw Brian on the bus, but here goes anyhow. So I've been thinking about maybe we could do a competition to do some sort of fun stuff where we can try to make sure that you guys produce most token contracts and most cross-shard interactions, so that we get a lot of the functionality that would represent a regular usage of the blockchain. And this will also lead to some more reasonable statistics for the blockchain. So I'll get back to you on that after Easter. We are here at Paris Blockchain Week, and then we have a few days for Easter, and then we'll get back to work after that. There's been some questions. I wanted to highlight the not necessarily best questions, but the questions that allowed me to address some very specific things. So there's been discussion about how does dispute handled. So there are suspicious behavior, then there are bad behavior, and then there are provable wrong behavior. And dispute currently only occurs when you have provable wrong behavior. The provable wrong behavior when we're talking about Oracle work is that the Oracle needs to mirror the Ethereum blockchain for the bring your own coins. So the Oracle, the small Oracle, needs to map every transaction that happens on Ethereum onto PBC. The large Oracle's role is the arbiter, the mediator of this functionality. So the small Oracle locks some stake, and then the large Oracle or the total committee monitors what's going on, and every committee is monitoring the small Oracle. So that's the role of the large Oracle. The large Oracle monitors, and if the large Oracle sees a transaction that has not happened on Ethereum, but the small Oracle has signed it onto PBC or vice versa for withdrawal, then the large Oracle is triggered and there's a dispute. The dispute is handled between all the members of the committee. So every node in the large Oracle gets to vote. And if the vote is successful in the sense that the dispute was actually a dispute and someone has behaved maliciously, then the dispute mechanism triggers and the node small Oracle members get burned their tokens. Otherwise, it will be the other way around. The disputer will have their token burned. Now, there's also been some discussions about preparing for mainnet. We will, of course, get back to this. This is a very important thing. You, as a node operator, are expected to have a regular Ethereum endpoint to the mainnet. Please make sure that that is not necessarily all the same mainnet, because otherwise this network won't be as decentralized. The configuration change needs to happen May 22nd onward onto mainnet launch. It probably means, so this configuration change is for the withdrawal contract, most important, and also probably also the deposit. So we will be crippling the beta net from May 22nd, but that's, you have 10-day window for actually updating that. We'll probably try to figure out a way where we can test whether or not you've done the configuration, because if you're part of the block production, part of the committee, and you haven't done it, then it's going to be bad for the network. So we want to make sure that most people have actually done it. We'll get back to you on the actual, but these are the dates that we've put in stone for so far. Then there's also another point is that if you want to be a block producer, you have to do it by the latest of May 15th. Otherwise, we can't guarantee you that you can get in. On becoming Oracle or Zero Knowledge node, we have building smart contracts where you are, where it's possible for you to say, I take this stake and then I would like to use it on this smart contract, this Oracle smart contract, or I would like to use it on this Zero Knowledge cluster. So you will have to actively say, I want to use some of my stakes on the Oracle on the Zero Knowledge node. We are bootstrapping the network with some tokens for doing the first bring your own coin, but afterwards you will have to do it yourself. There will be contracts and guidelines for you to do that. And then if there's been some questions about unstaking, how to handle unstaking in practicality. So the point is that stakes are being used as collateral in some smart contracts. And so when you request your stakes to be unstaked, you have to make sure that you are not actually participating currently in a computation where your stakes are being utilized. Let's say someone is doing second price options for a day, you'll have to wait until that contract is completed for you to be able to unstake your tokens. Then you can send the unstaked transactions to the block producer orchestration. You have to wait a couple of days. I think it's 3 days at this point. I would have to look it up. And then after that, your tokens would be tradable. I think that's it for the core questions, and we'll get back to more questions after the presentation. So I can ask, oh dear. Someone made me the admin, I'm sorry about that.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Jennifer is also sitting next to me. I can't start video yet, though, so maybe check that out, Peter.
Yeah, I'll do it in internet now. Yeah. I probably need to make you host. So I'll
make me host, please.
Yeah.
And then the list of questions, maybe send me that link because I don't have it in front of me.
That I think is for Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt, you can email me that link if you want.
I think actually you have it.
I am the host now.
Yep.
All right. Hello, everyone. Here's Jennifer sitting next to me. We are also here at Paris Blockchain Week. And it is a crazy schedule. We just did a panel a couple hours ago on DAOs and the future of DAOs. It was really interesting. I think there is a lot of opportunity for DAOs to be built on Partisia Blockchain. And something that we've discovered is there's a few good companies that are building usability tools where basically you can sort of plug and play a DAO from a good interface, and it will deploy on chain. So I think the business development initiative is to partner with one of those companies that provides the front end and user experience, but then get them to deploy on Partisia Blockchain, because currently they do Ethereum mainnet, which is obviously completely not cost effective. So I think there's a good opportunity for us to have a nice fit into DAOs. But I'm going to go through a few of the submitted questions. Yeah, I think that's how we'll probably conclude this AMA. So let me just pull it up. Here we are. Okay, so people wondered about the airdrop. So actually, I mean, it's not just a free airdrop. Actually, it was a referral campaign. And so we just incentivize people to invite people to Telegram groups, Twitter groups, and it actually has grown the community. I mean, I do agree in airdrops, you get a lot of just sort of bounty hunters looking for freebies, but actually we did get some good inbounds and KYC signups in the process, and it was very limited. So it's a small group that actually gets any $15 of token rewards. So it's really nothing that's going to be needle moving in any direction. It did definitely create some buzz and activity across the channels. In terms of listing, someone asked, what is the plan to achieve network adoption and awareness? There's a growing list of L1 competition. So we have a really unique approach, which is that we are a potential second privacy layer for other chains. So the big initiative, and you'll be hearing an announcement soon, is we did receive an investment from one of the developer groups from one of the other top 10 layer 1 protocols, who we will be partnering with to deliver a bridge that allows for privacy smart contracts on Partisia Blockchain to be utilized and finalizing the transactions on the existing Dapps from the other layer 1. There's basically, I mean, if I look at let me just check the rankings here. So we basically have one top 10 coin partnership with one of the biggest development networks, and there's another one closing that's in the top 20. So other layer 1s aren't built to the same capacity as ours, or we have a collateralized token and data bridge. And so the reason we did this is so that we could provide value to the existing ecosystems and networks that already have thriving developer communities. And so when we announce these partnerships, it's not just an announcement, it's actually that an entire thriving ecosystem can use Partisia Blockchain to execute privacy. So it's a very good specialty of ours, and it's built for the network effect. So we don't have to convince every other network in layer 1 to port all the projects over to our blockchain. They can actually use the privacy smart contracts of Partisia Blockchain via the bridge. So that's going to be huge news, and it's also more than just news. It's going to be huge utility coming for Partisia Blockchain. And someone else had asked, you know, well, what else can you do with the token to add more utility since it's not a means of payment? Well, we can do things like requiring buying MPC and staking in order to use the privacy smart contracts to facilitate cross-chain privacy. So that in itself is a massive utility that comes to the coin. And so that is the answer. We have amazing partnerships to other massive networks where the developer communities will be able to use MPC. So looking at the questions, the info on the tokenomics and public sale. So if you go to partisiablockchain.com/sale, we published the tokenomics and sale details. So the minimum amount of tokens in the public sale will be, I believe it was 10 million tokens. And the maximum amount would be 40 million tokens. So basically we're looking at a min sale of 4 million. The reason we're doing this is just so that the initial community can still buy tokens to run as much as a zero knowledge node, up to $25,000 worth of tokens at the current price of 40 cents. So for everyone who's done KYC or continues to do KYC, you'll have that opportunity. And then we will list on the exchanges shortly after. So we're looking at the sale on May 31, and then we're looking at the exchange listings around June, the latest maybe July. Keep in mind, everyone from the pre-sale is locked 4-year quarterly. So those first 90 days, we have everyone locked. So basically the listings have to come in that first 90-day window to get the liquidity started on the market. The amount of tokens that will be out there is maybe 25 million tokens, partially from the foundation and partially from market making on the exchanges to provide the liquidity. So for the question someone asked, which was what's the initial circulating supply, it's probably about 2.5%, 25-ish million tokens. Let's see. Someone asked about, are you earning now if you have an active node? Kurt maybe already answered this, but if you are producing blocks on the testnet, yes, you are earning 1% of your staked value up to a maximum of 500,000 MPC staked per month. So if you're staking 500,000 tokens and you're running the node and producing blocks in testnet, you're getting 5,000 tokens per month, 1% per month. So someone asked about liquidity lock for how many days from the pre-sale. As I mentioned, everyone except for a handful of node operators from the initial sale are locked 4-year quarterly. So it's a slow drip of liquidity. It's one of the strongest pre-sale lock periods ever seen in the industry. And the reason we did that is to ensure everyone is a long-term holder committed to the long-term mission. So if you bought in the pre-sale, you're stuck with us. And we look forward to working together over the next 4 years. Someone asked about Moonwhale Ventures. Yeah, Moonwhale decided to leave the project for personal reasons. No hard feelings, no bad relationship, but yes, they did leave the project and received a refund. So that looks okay. What would be the first specific top 3 real-world applications of Partisia Blockchain? Do you have any real-world companies lined up for mainnet? Yeah, so everyone's opinion of what their favorite use case might be different, so I'll just speak to mine. But I think that this project was founded, in 2017 on the vision of blockchain-based data exchange, which can apply to several different use cases. It can be decentralized identity management. It can be decentralized ad targeting, where all the user data is kept encrypted on device. And you can basically target ads or surveys to the private data when you connect to a blockchain. So imagine you have verified profile values like identity into your MetaMask. I'm just giving a simple example. Or we could say your Partisia wallet. Your encrypted verified values are actually served as a commitment onto the blockchain and then hosted locally on your device or in your extension as an encrypted value. When you log into a site with your extension, similar to how you might log into Uniswap, for example, with your MetaMask or the bridge with the Partisia wallet, there's a smart contract network that then is polling the encrypted values on the extensions or devices and can match qualified individuals. So if you create a survey, it would be able to match to the proper people. Or if you create an ad, like a Google ad network, you can match to the people. So Better Internet Search, for example, is bringing out a privacy preserving search engine on our mainnet version 1. So basically you're searching the web, but as you develop more data about yourself, it's saving locally rather than in centralized servers and then targeted across this distributed network. So we need that because, you know, the people like Google and Facebook have a complete monopoly and also too much control over the user data. So the whole idea is putting that control back into the users. The second one I'm most excited about is Original. And Original is a counterfeit medicine detection supply chain network built on Partisia Blockchain that also can protect the privacy of the end users. In Africa, over 42% of the medicine you get from a pharmacy or you think you're getting is fake, and it kills millions of people per year. So we have a unique positioning where we are in with one of the biggest NGOs in the world and deploying these use cases on the Partisia blockchain. And it's actually pretty cool because of the relationships. You know, the first pilot program is being rolled out to 21 million people in Nigeria who will be able to use this program to check their medicine bottles to see if it's authentic or fake, which can save lives and also, you know, be an amazing use case for a blockchain as you can track these things from the manufacturer to the end user. And that scales across an insane amount of use cases. You know, you can think of there's counterfeit tobacco or cigarettes that are prominent in Southeast Asia and Africa, and that's a multi-billion-dollar market that needs disruption and to be canceled essentially. And so that's a use case with profound impact from both a saving lives standpoint and a financial impact as well, and reallocating, you know, criminal money back to you know, the proper markets. So that's that. Instars is amazingly unique in that it's a implementation of a decentralized social network. So you can imagine you've seen in your Partisia wallet that you can actually claim your public key from your Twitter account. So in the alpha of Instars, you're going to be able to log in. You can already log in a Partisia wallet, claim your Twitter account, which then matches to your public blockchain address, Partisia blockchain address. So you're basically creating a pair of your Twitter name to that public ID, which then can save on chain. So you kind of claimed your Twitter account, and then we have an alpha where then you can post tweets onto Partisia blockchain, where it's permanent and censorship resistant. The challenge is that, you know, what if someone spams or puts inappropriate posts? Well, you can still remove them from a front end of a website, but you can't erase them from history, which is important. So if you look at all the censorship on the typical social networks, when they ban or delete accounts, they don't preserve the tweets. So you have to find them in some hopeful archive someone else took, which is questionable. So censorship resistant social media is super important. But then the ad targeting and the localization of data that you control as the user, they all work together. So it's sort of this full end-to-end solution of giving values to the user, keeping them encrypted on device, and then allowing matching and targeting to occur from a smart contract network that's using MPC or garbled circuits or some other cryptography that we've developed. So those are my three favorite applications coming, but there's also like a healthcare DAO that wants to deploy, which is super cool, but outside of our control. It's a third party that wants to basically host a insurance pool where people can, you know, contribute USDC every month to a pool, and then board of governors runs the DAO and can pay out, you know, rewards or claims, you should say. It's not a reward. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of amazing use cases that want to develop. And we're having the hackathon in September, as Kurt mentioned, in person in Copenhagen. But then we'll also do the online UN SDG summer school at the University of Geneva in June. So you're going to see a lot more use cases coming public and starting to develop. We just hired, on my end of the application side of the team, 3 developers this week, 3 new developers. So we're super excited to get them started. And you're gonna see a lot of increased speed of development and smart contract development as well. So yeah, that's I think that I don't see any other questions on here. I think that wraps it up on my end. So do we want to? How do we want to finish here, Jennifer? Do you want to say something? You can. Your earpiece is in, so you can read the questions.
Did you see that one?
Which one? It's from Pitbull. So the list of Dapps is starting to sound very impressive. Since there's some sort of Dapp store or other way to see them. That's a great idea, Pitbull. So maybe what we should do is start compiling them all into a front end that we feature on the website. So maybe what we'll do is, as the list of Dapps continues to grow, we will create an extension of Partisia Blockchain, maybe /Dapps, and we can start to list them all in one place so that we make discovery easier. So thank you for that idea. Yeah, I guess let's see what else. Tokens are not using runs. Looks like Peter got through a lot of your questions in the sidebar while I was talking. Anyone else? Any chance of oh yeah, BYOC. Yeah, BYOC is super. Yeah, I'll unmute Peter in a second. I'll answer this last question. BYOC is super unique because it's a collateralized token bridge. So the difference between our bridge and many bridges is 2 things. One, we use MPC and advanced secret key management. Other chains aren't using. So it secures the Oracle in a more innovative and futuristic way. But beyond that, we collateralize the bridge, which is super unique. So the MPC tokens that the BYOC node operators are staking, they're actually posting as collateral. So what you can imagine is there's all these MPC stakes that are actually acting as refund collateral if a node operator was to maliciously do something to the bridge. So on these other ones like Wormhole, you saw the bridge get completely drained and it's just gone. The funds are gone. And luckily someone like Jump is able to refund all the users out of their own pocket. But this is a more decentralized, secure collateral using MPC tokens. And so actually what you're doing is you're accumulating not just the assets locked in the bridge, but also the MPC tokens locked in the bridge. So you have much more collateral in there. So what you can do is you can actually start to do things like build like stable coins or other DeFi networks on top of this collateral. I'm not saying that we would do that ourselves, but it provides that opportunity to do so. Yeah. So, you know, the BYOC bridge, it also stores all the collateral across epochs. So there's not a one pool drain all possibility. So as every 50 or 100 ETH, I forget what the number is, Peter can answer, accumulates, it gets basically stuck in one epoch and then the next one opens. So we're not accumulating risk into one giant pool, we're spreading it across epochs. So that's very unique as well. Someone then asked, you know, what's the ambition? The ambition of the project is to be a top 10 layer 1. Of course, in the long run, we'd like to say, oh, we want to be the number 1, but I think where we fit into the market is we have the technology as well as vision and you know, capabilities to be a top 10 layer 1, and that's our ambition. More questions coming in. Deflationary, auctions, tracking. And there's a whole lot of categories you just threw at me there, Amar. It'd take me too long to go through all of them. Save those for next time and we can give a specific breakdown on each of those. How long do node ops? Node op 1% per month is intended to last for the near future. I think Kurt mapped it out over 4 years or 10 years. But I'm going to unmute Peter and send it back to him, as well as Kurt. So I'll see, unmute them both.
All right.
Yes, so this question about the price, we are going to have a price oracle that works with the price of the MPC. Until the price oracle is done, we're just doing the fixed numbers as is. So X amount of tokens as displayed on the sale page is what you need minimum to run your node, regardless of the USD price, until the price oracle kicks in.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where we are at with the question, but if you look at this question from Slido, I think there's a couple of questions that we didn't get to. One was about the value of the MPC token, but I touched on that during the presentation. That is basically an entry barrier to the market. So whatever activity there is in the network is capitalized in the MPC tokens, and I refer to this as a standard way and being used in the telecommunication industry. So that's how this works. About the node requirements in USD amounts. So we are changing that. It's coming out in the new yellow paper. So this is now fixed numbers. But remember that if you look at these the token bridges where you have collateral, you'll basically run out of a token at some point, and that's sort of what drives the market. That if you put some more tokens, if you have more tokens, you can run more bridges and you can make a higher earning in the network. So that's where the market sort of kicks in. What else do we have here? Talked about that. Maybe some of the competitors to the network. So what we're doing here is really sort of generic multi-party computation and privacy preserving computation, which is a much larger task than if we just are talking about the zero knowledge proof or threshold cryptography, like for custodian for multi-sig. So for CK proof network, I'm not sure we are a competitor as such to these networks. So there's a number of these out there. First of all, I mean, we are doing much more in terms of being able to compute on private information generically. And second, we're not creating a private network, but we are creating an infrastructure that allow you to build applications that use an arbitrary mix of public and private coordination of information. So that's a very different design choices. So we are building an infrastructure for a more generic set of applications. Then you might consider the threshold solutions, but that's also a very sort of small part of zero knowledge computation. This is about the multi-sig and handling private keys. And we did that actually for the first bridge the token bridge that we did. But since this is accumulating risk, we changed the design to the one that we have now with the epochs and the replacement of the small oracles after certain epochs and so on. So there is hardly any blockchain that is doing generic MPC out there. Then there are blockchains that is doing offering privacy preserving computation using what is called SGX, which is a hardware solution to privacy preserving computation. We don't believe that this is the right solution basically for blockchain, since it's not a decentralized solution. It's relying on trust in hardware. And currently we know that the security model behind the SGX is flaws, it's full of security breach holes that is well recognized in the industry. So that might be fixed at some point, but still you have a single point of trust in hardware producers when you use that approach. With the MPC, you have a software-based solution and software that can be audited by the community.
And you actually go into the hardware with your trust. So you're saying that I trust that some node operator somewhere is running hardware protected by this key. And you hope that it's hardware and not software that's running it. And that you hope that that guy does not abuse that trust. So for blockchain, it's really not feasible to do it because you don't have control over that node. The KYC information on that information, that machine, that piece of hardware is very little. And that's the point of blockchain. You don't want to share everything on it. So SGX is not going to be, maybe SGX with MPC, But that's a whole new interesting scientific topic that we're not going to go into.
Oh, well, that's actually an interesting point that you could have the nodes running SDX and be part of a MPC and zero knowledge computation this way. So it's not that what we are doing is not excluding this technology. It's going actually beyond this and doing this in a real decentralized fashion. There's just one other question I would like you to address, which is, can you explain how MPCs deal with privacy if the government don't want that? I mean, we're coming from, we've been building commercial software for decades, and we've been meeting regulatory requirements for very long, and that's sort of the background that has been driving these design issues. So we are building, as mentioned earlier, we're building an infrastructure that allow you as an application to come in and select that level of privacy and transparency needed for your application. And you're building your application in a jurisdiction or in some kind of regulatory setting where you have to, as a developer, meet the regulatory requirements. We're providing the infrastructure that allows you to meet any regulatory requirements. And I really think any regulatory requirements, because what else do you need if you can do arbitrary public and arbitrary private coordination of information? That's basically what you need. So I love the question, and I think we are the right network for solving exactly this. I don't know what was that the end of the questions, or?
Yeah, I think that's it. So
there's a few that's been answered in the chat as well. So you also want to look at the transcript of the chat.
Yeah, I think that is the timing and budget today.
Because we've got the speaker now.
We do have the speakers there, everyone. We have to be there in 1 hour. None of us got ready. It's going to be really great. So the speakers like CZ and Sam Bankman,
Brad.
Yeah, Brad. There. So we're going to have some good meetings and networking. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And this was recorded, so we will, as usual, post it to our YouTube. Jennifer, you have your earpiece in. You want to say anything?
Yeah, hi everybody. I just wanted to invite you to give us feedback. You know, we've been posting a lot of new content on YouTube. We're trying to post something new on Telegram and Discord every day. We hope it's useful, but we can only know that it's useful if you let us know. So please give us some feedback. If you have some ideas for us, if you have some projects that you would like us to share for you, we're here to do that as well. And thank you a lot for coming to this next AMA, and we'll see you again probably in about a month.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Post some pictures from the speaker dinner and the panel and everything else happening here at Paris Blockchain Week. It's a lot more crowded and vibrant than I would have expected. It's completely packed in the auditorium, so the enthusiasm around the industry is definitely peaking and continues to grow.
Serena Williams coach there today.
The coach of Serena Williams was there giving a talk. So also it's a very diverse crowd, a lot of new people. Which is great. Industry's growing and things are looking good. Talk soon, everyone. Thank you.